taking a deep dive into the business. It's the Turn Podcast, a golf business and experience podcast powered by Troon.
It's another episode of the Turn Podcast. I'm Julia. We've got some really cool guests on today related to the first tee because it's Family Golf Month. So welcome, first of all, Brandon Luna, who is the Director of Events and Alumni at First Tee.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Julia. This is great. I'm really looking forward to being here.
This is First Tee 2.0 because we did interview Jen Weiler, Senior Vice President of Network Relations last year. And of course, we featured Steve Outlaw's story. Welcome, Steve, Director of Sales and Marketing.
Hi, how are you, Julia? Good to see everyone.
Thanks for joining us. And then Megan Condor is another Troonie and turns out First Tee alumni. So we're going to be digging into her story a little bit too. How many more of there are you? Like you're just coming out of the woodwork.
Love it. We love it. We love the synergies there between our alumni and Troon. It's a beautiful thing.
Cool. Well, Steve, I would love for you to kick us off with Family Golf Month. What does it mean? And then, of course, how it relates to the First Tee.
No, thanks, Julia, and glad to be here with you all here on the call and then our listeners and however you consume the content, whether it be through, virtually or in your cars while you're driving to and from work and your daily lives. But Troon Family Golf, right? Troon as a whole, we encourage golf as a family sport all year long. We're leading the way by introducing juniors and families, to the world's greatest game. What we've done, over this past year and leading into our second year is partner with First Tee, which at the grassroots level is really helping to grow the game. Really love what they're doing and feel like, through our partnership, we can really elevate programming throughout not just our brand, but through the First Tee and really help. And that's something that Brand is going to allude upon.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, we're so thankful for the partnership with Troon. We know that you support, not only programming across your many properties around the U.S. and chapters are able to host fundraising events that week, or over the course of the month. So we're very appreciative of that relationship, and it's just for me today. It's really special because we have met both you, Stephen, and Megan joining, who are both First Tee alumni, and to see you all. I remember when you were at 17 and 18 years old, and now you're, working professionals and really being game changers in the golf industry. So it's an absolute pleasure, and we look forward to continuing the partnership with Troon for many years to come.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And the First Tees, you told me you celebrated your 25-year anniversary in 2022. So 2 years ago, 25 years. Yeah. And the mission and the focus of First Tee hasn't really changed, but the stories have continued to evolve, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's so interesting. Obviously, COVID was such a difficult time for us all. And, we took an opportunity there to sort of relook at the brand. Like, we understand after 25 years, kids and teens that are going through the program are not facing the same issues or having the same maybe problems in their lives. And so we've had to grow. COVID took such an effect on young people across our country. Whether it was self-esteem issues or, learning issues. And so we like to say that we really, enhanced our curriculum to meet where kids are today. And so although the true mission of the First Tee hasn't changed, we know that we need to now bring our curriculum in different ways to kids and teens and how they're engaging and interacting with content, so that virtually on apps, and so we're starting to digitize, if you like to use the word digitize, First Tee a little bit. But what's really special to the point you brought up, Julia, was that we did celebrate our 25 years in November of 2022, and now for us, the next 25 years, I like to think of it as we get to look back and look at those success stories like Megan and like Stephen and continue to tell that to our donors, our supporters, to teens in the program, because they've gone through it. Megan and Stephen have been there, been in those same seats, in the same classes. And so it's really powerful when our alumni can come back and sort of grow and develop the next generation of golfers, and at the end of the day, just next generation of good human beings. And so it's really special to see that, and we look forward to continue to tell that story through our alumni efforts moving forward.
Well, I think that the development of good human beings is always a positive thing. And this evolution that you're talking about has actually been encompassed in your own role, right? After 14 years with First Tee.
Yeah, yes, it has. Julia, I started off with the organization. So I've been with First Tee headquarters now going on 14 years. Crazy to think how time flies, but first started off with our coach education and training program, which was fantastic. I always say that, our First Tee coaches are our secret sauce. It's what makes the First Tee, and a leader in youth development. So over the past 8 or 9 years, really transitioned to our national leadership opportunities that we offer for specifically teenagers between 14 and 18 years old at First Tee chapters across the country. So that's been fantastic. That's where I got a chance to meet Megan and her sister Lauren. I met Steven through those opportunities. Steven was the First Tee poster child when we started things off. So it's just, again, it's sort of those it provides these full circle moments, when we're here now speaking with each other. So even in my role now, we understand that alumni are a huge part of our brand. They are going out and doing such great things in the industries that they're leading. They're great individuals giving back to their community. So, we have started to put resources and some intentionality of truly building out a First Tee alumni network that our alumni are proud to be a part of, that we can re-engage with them, and ultimately also to give back to the chapter. One of the interesting pieces is whether Megan moves to Phoenix, Arizona now, I believe. Megan, are you in Arizona?
Yeah, I'm in Scottsdale.
Yeah, Scottsdale. So, one of those opportunities that when Megan moves there, she may not know many people there because she's moved and relocated for her career, but First Tee is always home. Right? There's always some commonality there. So going to a First Tee location feels a little bit like going back home. And so if we can continue to re-engage our alumni to those chapter markets, man, like the kids and teens in those programs are going to benefit so much more from learning from the Megans and Stevens of the world. So
yeah, totally. I've known Megan now for a couple of years, and I have to say, I don't think she has any difficulty meeting people.
No, she didn't. She didn't either at 16.
So,
I can confirm that, Julia. You're spot on.
and Megan, I know you're so giddy about being here today. Like it was a little bit of a reunion when you saw that Brandon was on. Let's hear a little bit about your story.
Yeah, no, this has been so fun. I mean, the First Tee, means so much to me. I started with the First Tee when I was like 8 or 9 years old. Everyone always asks me, like, being in golf, like, oh, how did you get started in golf? Like, who taught you? And like, obviously my dad introduced me to the game, but like the First Tee really is what brought me to golf and kept me in golf. Back when I was 8 or 9 years old, it started with just going on a Saturday at our local club, going to chapter. I also have my older sister, so it was like a whole family affair. My dad and my mom would get in our big Suburban, we'd drive up to the course, and back then it was, you started at the level of par. You had to learn your different life skills. You had to hit certain shots on the course. And I don't know if this is still the curriculum, but I remember to get to birdie, you had to break 55 on 9 holes. And I kid you not, I think I shot 56 probably at least 12 times. So just kind of a fun story, but, we really evolved with the program, as we moved through middle school, as we moved through high school, as Brendan said, leadership academies that they have, it was a chance to not only learn and meet new people, but I think back in that leadership academy that I attended in Hofstra was the first time I ever left home. Like we talk about going to college and being away from your parents. And this was something I experienced when I was in high school, and I remember getting there and being so nervous, not having my family, not having my sister. And I remember going to college and thinking like, wow, like I've already done this. There's so many things I've learned, from the first tee that's not just golf, the core of like all of these things that just, propel us into being, the people that we are. And, it is a full circle now being at Troon and having our, support for the First Tee for Family Golf Month. It makes me so happy because I know what the First Tee provided for me, and having the support, from us to them to help future children and the kids that are going through it is just amazing.
Sounds like it's definitely life-changing for you. And I know, Steve, we told your story last year, but we probably should just give the highlights because Brandon mentioned you were the poster child, which we already explored, but your involvement went through college, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and Brandon's an OG. He's a first tee OG, as we call it, right? So Brandon's he's a long time first tee that everyone knows Brandon Luna. So he's been very modest, but I've been very fortunate. As Megan referenced, I also went through Leadership Academy, and it was also my first time away from home by myself. So it also did prepare me as well for college. But through the First Tee Leadership Academy and my involvement, I was able to receive at that academy at Cobra Hills and Kansas State University. So one of the first ones we had, I received the Dr. William Powell Male Leader Award. Miss Renee Powell. So pretty cool how, the First Tee has connected us with individuals. So we still stay in contact to this day. But at one of our network meetings, I spoke beforehand. I think I met Dr. William Powell, who's the president at Georgetown College then. And after my speech, he came out and offered me a scholarship. I think Dr. William Krause from Kansas State University came in afterwards and decided to match his scholarship. And then from there, it developed the First Tee Scholars Program. And I see Brandon kind of.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. You were the guy. You launched that. And, as I had mentioned earlier, Julia, COVID gave us an opportunity to look at some things across the business and say, all right, what's important? What do we need to change? How do we evolve? How do we stay relevant for our kids and teens, right? So we have now our First Tee College Scholarship Program. We're celebrating our 4th year. But if you look back, Stephen was really truly the first First Tee scholar. So it's really, again, just over time to see the growth of First Tee, not only at the headquarters level, but obviously to see the growth of the chapter network and the strength within the network has been just truly, inspiring. The great work that our chapter leaders are doing on a day-to-day basis. In my role, I get a glimpse of some of those teens when they come to these leadership academies or these national events, and it's very rewarding. But yeah, Stephen is definitely, he's not speaking himself up enough, but he has been a core of what First Tee is and what it represents, and Megan as well. And I it's so funny, Megan, as you were speaking, it was your first time traveling, and I think what was even more probably impactful later once you're able to look back is that your sister wasn't there. It's probably one of the first times you two were separated and you sort of get to experience this alone and see how you deal with certain interactions and different adversities. And so I always think that's really cool when, I've seen a lot of siblings over my 14-year career at First Tee. So when there's a gap of 2 or 3 years and just to see them and to see the growth, you spend 5 or 6 days, 14 to 18 hours a day, that they're awake and programming and doing team building activities, there is a change. And that is the best part. Like when you get to see that change, and it may not be immediately, sometimes the following year we'll have a young person come to a different event and you're like, who is this? Like, I've had that moment all the time where I'm like, who is this? Who is this young lady or who's this young man? That's not the same participant we met last year. So really powerful, really, really life-changing experiences. And it's, again, just a pleasure to be with 2 of the greats of the program here. So.
Oh yeah. Hey, and Brandon, it's funny you mentioned that the new scholarship program. It was another full circle moment. I think that's been thrown around quite a bit today, right? Yeah. It was a full circle moment for me this January. I got to speak at the winter workshop and sit with the first graduating class of the new scholarship program. So that was kind of full circle for me. So, sitting down with the Ricky Lambs of the world who just graduated from Harvard and seeing kind of, wow, how the program is really taking off to new levels. So really cool to see our future is in safe hands and safe keepings.
And do you think without First Tee, Steve, you would have ever put yourself in any kind of position where you're speaking to a group? Like just even starting with that?
No, absolutely not. No, I think through the First Tee program, I learned how to introduce myself. I think I said this on the last podcast, how to write my first check and balance my first checkbook. I did through the First Tee, and just simple things of, Dr. Krause referenced when he came out after me. And when I spoke at that meeting was that he said, hey, I looked him firmly in the eyes. I shook his hand. I greeted him with a common salutatory greeting, and I was very calm and confident. One of the core values there. And I think that was all just things I learned through the programming at the First Tee. So
yeah, I want to bounce off of that because, you guys were saying how I have a lot of friends or, I'm social and stuff, but I really think it has to go back to when I was a par at the First Tee. Like Steve said, you look them in the eye, you give them a good handshake, and you always ask an open-ended question, and it gets conversation going. And that's something I still do, and you build that confidence. So, when you're 8, 9 years old, starting to build confidence, we just had our True Leadership Conference, and you guys were so nice to, involve me, and I got to speak in front of all our company leaders. And all I can think of is I've been put in these situations so many times with the First Tee. They've challenged me to grow as a person. So now when I'm here, I have that confidence to do things like that.
Well, I can confidently say that Troon is a very fortunate company to have both of you. In the few years that I've known both of you, you've continued to progress. Even Megan at Leadership Conference, and we had to do the same presentation 4 times. And her improvement from number 1 to number 4 was just like palpable. It was so impressive.
Perseverance, right? Huh?
Perseverance. Yeah. That must be another one. Brandon, how have the life skills that you're teaching to these kids changed over the years?
It's a great question. The life skills really hasn't changed. I think you look at, I'll probably use terminology very familiar with Megan and Steven, concepts of STAR, stop, think, anticipate, respond, right? It's a life skill that is used on and off the golf course, whether that's in the classroom or in a work setting. So the true core of the curriculum of First Tee really hasn't changed, but we've had to evolve. We understand that it's a different era. Teens and young people are learning differently. They're faced with different challenges. So now we've gone away from maybe our par, birdie, and eagle programming, and we've really jumped into age-based learning, right? So if a participant is starting the program at 13 years old, well, we're going to make sure that they're in a class with 12 and 13-year-olds as well, rather than starting from the beginning at par, which you would probably be starting off with a bunch of 7-year-olds. And not that there's not value in there. A big push for us now is our key commitments. And so, growing through challenge and building a positive self-identity. These are maybe a different way of looking at what we may have called our core values before, but it's just, again, it's reimagined. It's evolved to ensure that we're meeting the needs of our kids and teens now that are enrolled in the program.
What are some of the more impactful stories that you've heard on the First Tee side that is important to share?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going through my mental. A lot of my colleagues laugh at me because I'm
sure you have a lot of them up there.
Yeah, I have a lot going through my mind, and I'll talk about a young man that went through one of our programs, and at the end of the week, the young man shared in an open, and safe space that, that was the first week he felt like he belonged somewhere, and that, I just, the hairs on your, everywhere just stand up, and you get teary eyed, and that's why we do what we do. Inclusion is so integral to what we do. It's I always like to say it's part of our DNA. It's just how we operate. So, one of our great alumni, her name is Hannah Renz. Megan, you may have actually even gone to programming with her. I can't remember. She's Hannah with the First Tee of Siouxland. She was the first participant ever selected for one of these national opportunities. Well, fast forward, she goes to, I believe, the University of Texas, gets an aeronautical engineering degree. And Hannah is now building Starliner that is going to Mars to, develop and start to create colonies, right? And so like you look at that and I think I see Hannah now and coming back and speaking to our participants, just like Steven has, and trust me, Megan will be once we're in the Phoenix area. You look at those success stories and you go back 10 years and you're like, yeah, I can see it. I can see it.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot. We've got Megan and Steve here, and you've known them both since they were pretty young. Like, you have any scoop or stories to tell about one of them? Maybe one each?
I will say, as I had mentioned earlier, I got to know Steven a little bit later in his sort of role at First Tee, or his development in First Tee. So I don't have a lot of juicy details there, Steve, but I will say he's like, thank you. Now, Megan, I definitely remember Megan a little bit more, at Hofstra, very outgoing. I remember her just being pretty quiet at the beginning, which is not unlike, our teens nowadays, but then by day 3 and 4, then she starts to develop a little group, and, so she was one of the leaders within the little groups there. And, but nothing, again, Megan was fantastic. Her sister went through the program. Megan's gone through the program. They're a First Tee family, and truly, when we talk about our chapters, when we talk about our coaches, the kids and teens in the program, and obviously, our alumni, it is a First Tee family. And I think, as a non-golfer, okay, I will say I am a non-golfer, been in the industry for 13 years, but the reason I continue is because of that family atmosphere. And there's not many places where you get that, and not only at just your workplace, but you meet so many just incredible people, and you're a part of their story a little bit, right? You're a little bit a part of their story and journey. But it's always like coming back to seeing the family. So it's a special place to be.
How would you explain First Tee? If I've never heard of it before, but my child is thinking this could be good for my child, like, how would you summarize what First Tee is about?
At its truest point, I would say that First Tee is a youth development organization, and character education is key in that. We use the game of golf as a vehicle to connect with these kids and teens in our program. When, as a parent, knowing that your young person is involved with First Tee, that they're going to have caring coaches, well-trained coaches that are going to get the best out of them, whether they're great golfers or they're maybe just a lifelong golfer. They love to play the game, but they may not want to play at the next level. But ultimately, your child is going to truly grow as an individual, so that when life comes at you, and there's, we all know that there are moments in life that are difficult, and that they'll be well equipped. They're going to persevere. They're going to know what growth through challenges. They're going to feel confident in who they are. Building self-resilience skills. That's what First Tee is truly focused on, is the character education and youth development side. And we just bring it to life in a really fun setting on the golf course. And so what's incredible about the game of golf is it is a lifelong sport as well. Not only do you get the values of what the First Tee curriculum and programming is, but this will be something that will stay with your child and or teen for the rest of their life, and continue hopefully to be a catalyst and ways to meet new people and network and just have commonality with individuals. And I think that's one thing that, if we can have maybe a little bit more in the world of, is being able to, draw on commonalities rather than differences, and then that's a good thing. So
how does a child get involved with First Tee, and is there an age requirement at that entry point?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Typically, programming for first tee is between the ages of 7 and 18 years old. Okay. And the new narrative now is, well, when you graduate, through first tee programming at 18, well, now we want you to come and be a part of the alumni program. So you're still with the first tee family well after high school. But there are certain programs that do offer, programming for slightly younger age, so that sort of 5 to 6 year old. But most programming across the U.S. Is from 7 to 18 years of age. We have approximately 150. I think right now we're probably around 145 chapters across the United States. So the easiest way would be, going to firsttee.org, and we have a locations map that's very easy to use. And you type in your zip code, and it'll show you different first tee programming locations. So if you have, live like in a big city like Denver, we may have 2 separate chapters that serve communities all over sort of the metro, Denver area. But that would be the best way, is going to firsttee.org, selecting the locations map, and trying to identify where the nearest first tee programming site or facility is, based on your zip code.
Okay.
And Julie, I would just chime in, to add on to that, during the month of July, Troon Family Golf Month, please take advantage also of our programming. Juniors will play in golf for free after 3 p.m. when playing with the paying adult. They're complimentary Callaway club rentals, and then complimentary instruction when they're taking a lesson with their paying adults, so their companions. So some great opportunities there to also, like you said, Brandon, kind of pair and help out each other there. So.
Yeah, and Julia, one thing that I'll also, Stephen, that's a perfect segue, and again, just sort of highlighting the relationship there. And we know that there's a lot of programming going on through the Family Golf Month. So First Tee will never turn away a young person if funding is an issue, and so our chapters are, leaders in that, and they're great, and there's ways and scholarships that they have available. So, I always like to ensure that the access portion shouldn't be an issue. If you find yourself a first tee location as a parent, know that the leadership there at the end of the day wants to do best by, your child and you as a parent. So, definitely, encourage all listeners here today to try to get an idea of where their local first tee chapter may be. And if you're not a parent and you're someone who loves the game, find your local chapter and talk with the leadership there to become a volunteer coach or a mentor or just they also have full-time coaching opportunities or part-time coaching opportunities. So there's a way for everyone to get involved with first tee programming.
Yeah. What about donations? I imagine that's a part of it too, and supporting this incredible effort.
Yeah, and donations, I always like to think of donations holistically. So I think, the greatest gift people can give you is time. And so, if you can donate your time, there's so many various ways that, our chapters would love to have individuals donate their time to, continue to enhance and support programming. Obviously, you need funding, right? You need funding to continue programming and build sustainable relationships and communities for years. So what I would say is, yes, if there's a local chapter in your area, obviously that would be a great benefit for them if there's interest. And a lot of those chapters host fundraising events as well. So there's fun ways to engage in what a donation could look like. And, clubs, right? We have, unused clubs that chapters can use for participants who may not have their own golf club. So donations holistically is something that we look at, from a pretty diverse lens. And I think that there are so many great ways that people can get involved with, first tee programming, depending on where they're at in life as well. So.
A great example of that one that comes to mind is over at Mecklenburg County. We just recently had our Team Churn member, Justin Thomas, kind of put on a clinic there. He donated, I want to say $20,000 of his own money towards the 4 properties that we manage there. And then I think we're also going to be giving back over the 20 years of that deal. So that's pretty cool to see. But that's, like you said, very crucial to what First Tee is as a whole. So
absolutely.
Steve, what's your favorite memory of First Tee?
Man, there's so many really cool ones. I would say this was back during the very, very early days. We got to go to Congress and speak before a congressional hearing. And this was way back when First Tee was kind of getting going. We got to meet Jack Nicklaus and speak at a congressional breakfast. So that was really cool. This was way back in the day. And I was in a limo with Fuzzy Zeller. So that was cool. And then I would just say definitely from the Colbert Hills days, that was awesome just to kind of get out and kind of find out who I was as an individual and as a person at that time. And then a lot of those relationships I fostered at that age, I still have contacts with them to this date. So when I got married, which is going on 5 years now, all of my groomsmen were First Tee participants or scholars or had some kind of tentacle connection to the First Tee. So it's pretty cool.
Wow. How about you, Megan?
I think I have two. So, but my first one is definitely when I played in the First Tee Open. When they select juniors for round different chapters, we get paired up with a Champions Tour player, and we play at Pebble Beach. Is on the friends I made. It was just the best week. Like it was the people I played with there, I still talk to. Like one of my friends here in Phoenix, I met, that week. It's an event unlike anything, and obviously it's incredible to play at Pebble Beach, but like the friends and things we did it was so fun. But my other one would actually circle back to the First Tee Open that my sister actually played in. So I think she was probably 16 or maybe even 15 at the time, so that makes me 11. And she actually got paired for the event to play with Jim Colbert, who she met at Colbert Hills for her Life Skills Academy. And they were going out for a practice round for the event, and they had met prior at the academy. So when they got to Pebble that week, they had been paired up, and they went out for a practice round. And Jim said to me, he asked me, he was like, "Oh, like, do you have your clubs?" And this is a story my dad will tell everyone to this day. And this is back when I had like the all pink bag and the pink head covers. I'm like 11 at the time. And I was like, yeah. And so my dad actually ran back to our Suburban, and he grabbed my clubs, and I got to play at Pebble Beach when I was like 11 years old. But honestly, the best part is just the relationships, truly, like the friends, the people. Brandon talks about the coaches, like how incredible the coaches are. I mean, truly, they lead the way. They are amazing. And, Brandon also was talking about, when I started at that Hofstra Academy, I was, a little more quiet. And as days gone on, I kind of gained a little confidence. But, when you're there, you have the coaches and people like Brandon that are literally supporting you and like helping you become, get confidence when you're 14, 15, 16 years old. And they're the best, and they put their heart into what they do. And it really just shows the whole idea of the First Tee, of like how incredible it is and how much support there is. And yeah, it's great.
So cool. Brandon, how does it make you feel when you're watching these young adults who are just killing it, crushing it? Are you feeling like little Prod Papa moments here?
Oh, I always I always say that proud Papa Bear moment, or when they're teens, right? When you have sort of the mother duck and her little ducklings behind. That's how I feel like at these events. I'm like, all right, do I have everyone? Are we getting everything we want to get out of this experience? And then to have moments like these where you just sort of sit back, and I can listen to Megan and Steven talk all day. And our alumni are our greatest brand ambassadors we have, because they've gone through it as a young person, and also have now the experience of in their professional careers to look back and say, wow, this was, this program had a true impact on my development. So very proud of the two of them. I absolutely love, I think for me, transitioning into a little bit more of the alumni relations world, it's like I get to see the Megans and Stevens across the country that I saw at 16. And wow, when you have those conversations of what they're doing now, you're just like, it's proud. It's a proud moment every time. So this was amazing.
Certainly inspiring. Steve, thank you again for being with us for a second time. Megan, you did a great job on your debut podcast. Is this the first podcast you've been on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So first podcast, first tea podcast. Natural, of course. And Brandon, thank you. Thank you for everything that you've done for these two young adults, and also for the organization First Tee. Thank you for your relationship with Troon, and I look forward to hearing what's happening next year.
Same, and I can't wait to see the next group of alumni working at Troon as well. So
I know, someone else is going to pop up. There's going to be someone crawl through the woodwork and go, "Hey, I was First Tee also."
I love it. That's a great thing.
Right. Thank you all, and thank you to our listeners. Tune in again next time.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you so much.
This has been The Turn, a golf business and experience podcast powered by Troon. Every episode is available on troon.com. And subscribe to The Turn podcast through iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, or wherever you prefer to download your favorite shows.